Sources like the International Labor Organization, or ILO, tells us that every 30 seconds someone is abducted and forced into the world of human trafficking. These are real people, and all too often very young children like Carly Jacinto. Reporter Raphael for CNN tells us about Carly's story. When Carly was 12 years old, she was enticed by an older man with a piece of candy, kind words, and a fast car. She willingly got into this car and drove away with this man. In her story, she says that the first few months were wonderful, and then the next 4 years was living hell. Most of the time she was locked in a room, forced to have sex with as many as 30 men a day, 7 days a week. Carly estimates that during her captivity, she was raped some 43,000 times. My name is Greg Holke, and over the next several minutes, I'm going to share an overview about human trafficking. So first of all, I'll share some statistics. Secondly, I'll share some of the disguises that these traffickers use to trick or entice their victims. I will share some of the things that the traffickers force their victims to do. And then lastly, I'll share some of the things that you and I can do to try to help stop this heinous crime. So, why listen to me? Well, it's a horrible crime that is stealing the very lives and souls of people worldwide. This isn't something that's just occurring in third world countries. This is happening in the cities, maybe where you live, I live, or certainly near us. ILO estimates that there's 1.5 million people enslaved in North America, with tens of thousands that's being trafficked back and forth across our borders every year. So what makes me credible to talk about this? I spent a lot of hours researching the topic. I've been to several lectures listening to subject matter experts talk about the topic. And I'm a little bit passionate about it because as a child I got first-hand glimpse, minuscule glimpse at that, of just how heinous some of these acts can be when I was sexually abducted, sexually molested. Fortunately, I was let go. Not like these traffickers and these victims that we're talking about here that is kept in captivity day after day, month after month, and sometimes year after year. So, point one, the overview. Let's talk about some of the statistics. First, let's define human trafficking. The FBI, A21, ILO, numerous sources have pretty much the same definition, and that is the illegal trade of human beings primarily for forced labor, for forced sex, and often the harvesting of human organs. So how big is it? Most organizations, most statistics out there estimate that it is in excess of 20 million people that's enslaved in this human trafficking worldwide. Human trafficking is big business. The low estimates is $32 billion. McDonald's, the Golden Arches, has tens of thousands of locations worldwide, did not make $32 billion last year. The actual high estimate, which is more in line with what ILO and other organizations believe, that number is $150 billion. The FBI says that it's the fastest growing facet of organized crime, and it is third on the type of crime worldwide. The FBI also gives us a little bit insight into the average age of some of the victims as far as the sex portion of it. Girls that are forced into prostitution and the human trafficking. Are you ready for this? The average age is 12 to 14. Carly was 12. So of the millions that are enslaved, how many are actually ever rescued? Again, using the statistics from ILO, 2016, less than 0.4% of the victims were rescued. Trafficking Review tells us that the likelihood of the trafficker getting caught is very low, and the likelihood of them ever receiving a prison sentence or a long prison sentence is also very low. So from the twisted perspective of the trafficker, the risk to reward ratio, they think that it's worth their while. They're not likely to get caught. So people don't just knowingly walk into this. Nobody's going to wake up and say, I want to be a slave. So how are these victims enticed or tricked? Traffickers are very cunning. They target teens, runaways. They'll target families living in poverty, telling the parents that your kids can go off and make money and they can send money back to the family is one of the common tactics. I Sympathize gives us something referred to as the 5 P's to help us remember some of the disguises that these traffickers use. Number 1, you have the pretender, somebody that pretends to be somebody that he or she is not. A big brother, a big sister, a mother or father figure, a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Then you have the provider, somebody that promises to take care of you. They can provide a home, they can provide food, clothes. Then you have the promiser. What little girl or boy does not have aspirations and dreams? Many want to be a famous singer, many want to be an actress. Most young girls dream of being a model. That is another technique that a lot of these traffickers will use, promising to be able to fulfill these dreams. Then you have the protector, somebody who uses intimidation to control their victims. The punisher, who actually beatens or threatens to beat for the purposes of controlling their victims. So, from the takeaway of this, try to remember these 5 P's. So what are some of the things that the victims are forced to do? Human Trafficking Hotline, as well as Free the Slaves, have quite a long list. Nobody would argue that the 2 primary things that people are trafficked for is forced sex and then forced labor. But most people, I don't think, realize just how many different types of jobs that traffic victims are forced into. Agriculture, ranching, mining, the restaurant industry, the nail salon industry, babysitting, maid service. The list is quite long. Really, it is only limited by the twisted imagination of the trafficker. So lastly, what can you and I do? Well, number 1, we can stay informed. Don't tune the topic out, don't turn the channel. Try to learn as much as you can about this crime and about what some of these traffickers do. Share the information with your family. If you have kids, certainly share the information with your kids. Talk about these 5 P's. Same thing with your grandkids. Volunteer. There's organizations that could use your help. Lobby your politicians. We need tougher laws. We need lifetime sentences, capital punishment for people that enslave another human being. Lastly, you can donate money. All these organizations struggle to stay afloat and need money. So to conclude, I've talked about an overview. I've shared some of the statistics. I've shared some of the disguises, some of the things that traffic victims are forced to do, and then some of the things that we can do to try to help stop it. So keep in mind that every 30 seconds someone is abducted and forced into this world of human trafficking. If it would have been easy, it would have already been stopped, but it can be stopped if enough of us step up with sweeping changes, with legislation, take the time to get involved. We can stop it. Won't you join me?